It started with a video. A man sitting cross-legged in a dimly lit room, incense curling through the air like a serpent, chanting softly in a voice that felt ancient, hypnotic. His followers called him the Light, a spiritual healer, an urban prophet, but to others, he was just a man in Brixton, one with a camera, a plan, and a terrifying level of charisma. No one knew his real name, no one asked. They just listened. They obeyed. The first known clip surfaced online in 2018, grainy, strangely edited, but strangely compelling. He spoke of trauma release through frequency alignment, energy reprogramming, and claimed to have trained with monks in Nepal, shamans in Brazil, and quantum scientists from unnamed universities. It was pseudoscience poetry and it worked. His video spread quickly through Instagram and YouTube spiritual niches, attracting viewers hungry for meaning, especially younger people, lost in the post-pandemic spiritual vacuum. His collective soon formed offline in the backroom of a Brixton yoga studio. Members came from all walks of life: students, artists, abuse survivors, newly sober addicts. They weren't stupid. They were just searching for answers, connection, clarity, and he gave them what they craved. Or at least, he made them think he did. What began as free weekly sessions soon evolved into paid retreats, personalized healing programs, and late-night soul surgeries that cost thousands. Followers were encouraged to isolate themselves from non-vibrational family members and cut off old friends who blocked their growth. These weren't just group meditations. These were indoctrination rituals disguised as self-help. Behind the scenes, the man who called himself the Light was spinning a web of control. Text messages later leaked showed him belittling members, using phrases like, "If you leave now, you'll lose your chance to ascend," or "Your pain is my investment." He assigned nicknames to his inner circle, stripping them of identity. He insisted on constant updates via private messaging groups, and even demanded monologues detailing their darkest secrets. He called it energetic cleansing. It was blackmail fuel that there was one rule in the collective that stood above all others: never question the Light. To ask where the money went, why his story kept changing, or why he never showed receipts from his supposed worldwide travels, that was to commit betrayal. Dissenters were shamed publicly or cast out with dire warnings. One woman said he claimed her aura would collapse within 48 hours if she disobeyed. Another received voicemails of him whispering prayers and threats. His apartment, disguised as a sacred temple, was a labyrinth of candles, crystals, blackout curtains, and shelves full of psychology books he never cited. He copied ideas from self-help authors, twisting them into spiritual dogma, and delivered them as prophecy. "You're not broken," he said to one member. "You're just resisting my energy." But all cults share a fatal flaw. Control eventually demands exposure. The internet, once his greatest weapon, began turning against him. Former followers started asking questions. Comments disappeared. Stories were deleted. DMIs went unanswered. And still, the facade cracked. The tipping point came when one of his top inner circle members, known only by her spiritual name, Starmere, left the group and posted anonymously. She detailed how he coerced her into giving up her savings, ghosted her after a panic attack, and convinced her she was cursed if she stopped attending his sessions. Within days, a private Discord server formed. Former followers joined. Screenshots were shared. Video clips were dissected frame by frame. The collective, it turned out, wasn't enlightenment, it was manipulation. Everything from the ceremonies to the testimonials were rehearsed, retaken, and carefully curated to build an empire of lies. He never studied with monks or shamans. He never left London by the time journalists caught wind of the story. The conman had gone underground, deleted socials, abandoned temples, left no forwarding address. But the damage remained: emotional scars, emptied bank accounts, and a hard lesson in how easily spiritual hunger can be exploited by a man with a phone, script, and no soul. The man who once called himself the Light thought he had covered his tracks. He deleted his videos, scrubbed his Instagram, and disappeared from the retreat listings. For a while, it looked like he might get away with everything. But what he didn't count on was the anger, grief, and determination of those he manipulated. And that, in the end, would be his undoing. It began quietly, one message at a time. Former followers, who once sat cross-legged before him, now sat behind screens, haunted by the same rituals they once praised. Some were in therapy, some were still too afraid to speak, but a few, fueled by guilt and anger, began gathering evidence. One survivor, known online as Unveiled, had archived every conversation, every DM, every digital trace the so-called guru ever sent her. She had screen-recorded live sessions, backed up emails, and documented PayPal receipts that showed over £9,000 transferred across just 6 months. But she wasn't alone. Across London, scattered members began connecting, first through comment threads on exposed videos, then Reddit, then WhatsApp. They created a private server. Their goal: exposed him, not just to each other, but to the world. Together, they began building a timeline identifying the recycled phrases he used to lure people in, the exact moments he contradicted himself, the copy-pasted affirmations sent to different followers. They analyzed his videos, slowed down his movements, even pointed out audio glitches where background noises didn't match the story he told. One particularly damning clip showed him speaking in what he claimed was ancient energy code. A linguist in the group recognized it as a broken mix of Latin. Phrases taken from Google Translate, then came the testimonies, dozens of them. People shared how he convinced them they were cursed, how he diagnosed them with soul sickness only he could heal, how he told a young man with depression to stop his medication because it blocked divine flow. Some gave him money, others gave him their secrets, all gave him power. And now, they were taking it back. The group launched a dedicated Instagram page and YouTube series titled #ExposeTheLight. They released clips, blurred faces, played real voice notes where he threatened one woman with energetic death if she left the group. They used storytelling, timelines, evidence, and it worked. Views poured in, shares exploded, and most importantly, more victims came forward. The internet, once the stage for his deceit, was now the arena of his downfall. Mainstream media soon took interest. A short-form documentary by an independent journalist went viral, reaching nearly 1 million views in 2 days. Headlines began circulating: Brixton cult uncovered, fake guru exposed by online sleuths, and victims reclaim power in modern-day cult case. The narrative shifted from silence and shame to a movement of digital justice. Then came the big moment. A former follower filed a police report, armed with a detailed folder of abuse allegations, screenshots, and bank statements. He was investigated for fraud, emotional coercion, and deceptive business practices. While no murder or direct violence had occurred, the trauma was real, the manipulation was undeniable. This wasn't a movie, it was a true psychological crime played out in real time. The man known as the Light was finally identified. His real name was Marcus L. He had a criminal history that included prior scams under different aliases. His past included an abandoned wellness startup, bankruptcy filings, and questionable psychological training from unaccredited online courses. Everything he built was a lie, carefully curated for spiritual aesthetics, but rotten at the core. After a wave of public pressure, he released a brief defensive video on a burner account claiming he was misunderstood, that the world wasn't ready for his truth, and that the accusations were attacks from lower energies. He never apologized. He never acknowledged the trauma. That video was removed within 24 hours after mass reporting. It never resurfaced on the end. Justice didn't come through courts or handcuffs. It came from the collective voice of the people he underestimated, the ones he tried to silence, the ones who chose truth over fear. And though Marcus L. may have vanished, the movement he accidentally ignited became something more powerful than he could ever control. Survivors now speak at workshops about digital cults. Their videos continue to circulate, warning others how spiritual manipulation works in the age of social media. They transformed their trauma into education, and their silence into a rally cry, because when the masks fall and the spotlight shifts, even self-proclaimed prophets can't escape the truth. Not anymore. Not in the age of the internet. If this story moved you, Or if you want to support survivor-led investigations like this one, please like, subscribe, and share. This helps more people spot the red flags and stay safe from predators hiding in plain sight.